From one side of the UK to the other, this countrywide tour for the Ma5da MX5 Mark3 Championship has arrived 20 miles west of the seaside town Skegness. This is the beautiful Cadwell Park. The man in charge so far this year has been ex-Formula Ford Festival winner Chrissy Palmer. Having already taken 2 victories at Silverstone, he slithered his way to race 2 victory at Snet, and then made it 6 wins from 3 meetings by dominating at Anglesey. The format of the Mark3 races puts Palmer 8th in race 3 at Anglesey, meaning an entertaining battle ensued before the checkered flag fell.
And Chrissy Palmer by 0.006 of a second takes it from Luke Herbert.
So here at Cadwell Park, the chasing pack have got a lot of work to do to stop Palmer's dominance. Cadwell Park here in Lincolnshire is a spectacular roller coaster of a track. Let's jump on board and get a driver's view of the circuit.
On board with Luke Herbert qualifying, this is wet conditions over the start and finishing line heading towards turn 1. You can see it's pretty narrow this first part of the lap. Turns in, the circuit goes uphill. Pretty fast first turn, but then the camera switches to the other side to suck you through that first right-hander. It goes uphill, then drops away again. The circuit also widens on the exit of Charlie's there to get a good slingshot down the Park Straight, a particularly tricky long right-hand corner. Park Straight not particularly straight really. Make sure you're to the far left-hand side as possible as you go over the brow of the hill, because you'll be looking for that next braking point into Park. Turns in, Luke gets a bit of a slide on in these wet conditions. The Kumo tyres struggling for grip, and now we go through Chris's curve. It's another long right-hander, very nice on a motorbike. The circuit keeps you stuck to the inside. Camber holding you in. Now through the gooseneck, first part right, then falls away, drops away and left, but the camber does help you on the entrance, so you can really throw it at that curve. Difficult braking zone into Mansfield, going down the hill, and Luke gets a bit of a slide on, doesn't get the apex because it's a bit too slippery. And now we go back onto the original circuit, much narrower, and this is the really tricky bit. Here comes the mountain section. Just look how steep this is. Fabled on a motorbike, not quite so tricky in a Ma5da, but as you go over the brow of the hill, a little bit of a slide on as the car goes light. Now through the Hall bends. Firstly it's a right, then it's a left, then it's a right. And again, the circuit helping you. But in these slippery conditions, Luke having to use the curb and more to keep the car stuck to the inside. Through the hairpin, and now towards the penultimate turn. Barn, it's very, very narrow here. And that's where all the wet conditions will stay if it does dry up by the end of the day. Let's find out who the pole sitter was. Nat has got Adam Gore.
Adam, your first ever pole in the Mark3s. How do you rate your chances?
Yeah, hoping it's going to be a good race. I've got to get a good start, and if I get a good start, then yeah, the race should be mine for a win, but we'll see.
What do you think about this rain today?
I'm loving it. Absolutely love the rain.
Do you prefer it in the wet?
Not really, no. I'm just being optimistic.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And well done to placing it on pole. Let's see how Adam gets on in the first race of the weekend. Here's your commentator for the day, Ben Constanduris.
Thanks very much, Nat. Pole on the right-hand side, and Adam Gore ahead of Luke Herbert. Chrissy Palmer down in 3rd position, then Jordan Stilp. Matthew Davis, a good qualifying session ahead of Paul Sheard. And in between those blobs of water are some Ma5das. It looks like from the left-hand side of the shot, Luke Herbert's made the best start and indeed getting a lot of grip away from the line. We go on board with Matt Davis, the 91 car. Up through the first turn, very little visibility at all at the front of the field. It's Herbert ahead of Gore. In 3rd position, Jordan Stilp. On board with Luke as we go onto the Park Straight for the first time. He snatches a gear, just runs the curb. We saw at Seston just how tricky these cars were to drive in the wet conditions. The new Kumo tyres, very good in the dry, but not so good in the wet. They're not really designed to be used in wet conditions. And therefore, plenty of difficulty trying to keep the cars on circuit. Chrissy Palmer has not made a good start. There he is, behind the top 4. Paul Sheard's got ahead of him as well. So that left side of the grid didn't get away as strongly as the right side. and Herbert snatched the advantage. He looked pretty strong in wet conditions in testing. They had mixed day on the Friday, so they had a few sessions in the wet and a few sessions in the dry. A good chance then to get the car set up for whatever was thrown at them today, and it has been very, very wet indeed. Luckily the circuit clearing pretty well. This is a view from Luke Herbert's car. A bit of a slide through the mountain section over the brow of the hill. Again, just having to adjust a bit of oversteer as they go light over that brow. Lights on for Adam Gore in second position. He means business. He was fastest in qualifying, but qualifying was in the dry conditions, and it's a very different race car that you need underneath you for these wet conditions here at Cadwell Park. Jordan Stilp there, lying in third position. Had a dreadful, dreadful Anglesey race, the last round of the championship. Went through, I think, 3 different gearboxes in 3 races. On board with Matthew Davis. Difficult to see exactly where he's lying in the race so far, but he is coming towards the first turn and sitting in the middle of the circuit under braking, the car getting a little bit light underneath him. Adam Gore goes over the brow of the hill at Charlie's. The long, long, long right-hander that brings you out onto this straight. Now, Luke Herbert's got some fogging issues there on the left of his screen. Interesting that it's an open-top car, and yet it's fogging up. Brake, clutch down, changing down the gears as he goes into Park Corner. The man on the move, though, is that man, Paul Sheard, in the 18 machine. The owner, or the man that runs a quarter of the grid here in the Mark 3s, and he is doing extremely nicely for himself. Through Chris's curve now. Admittedly, didn't get the qualifying session he would have liked, and it looks like there's a good battle going on behind them as well. Looks like Chrissy Palmer may be even under pressure. Paul Sheard looks to the inside of Stilp. Stilp goes defensive. Sheard runs a little bit wide, but Gore's run even wider ahead of him. Oh no, what happened to Adam Gore? He's outbraked himself at Mansfield, and he's allowed 2 Ma5da MX5 Mark 3s down the inside of him. So it's gone from bad to worse for Adam Gore. Pole position in the dry, and now he's dropped down 2 spots from where he lay in second position after the first lap. It's allowed Luke Herbert an even bigger gap. Sheardy is having to defend, though. He's obviously made a mistake through the mountain section. It's allowed Stilp a little bit of breathing space. Now through a Hall bends. This is the next place you can overtake at the hairpin. Nope, Gore's not close enough. Sheard is a man on the move. He's already made a little bit of a gap and set his sights about chasing down Jordan Stilp. Stilp in the Rob Boston racing team. Rob not racing in the championship this year, so successful in previous years in Mazdas. Racing in the Lotus Cup this year, but does still run a fleet of, I think it's 4 cars. Rob, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong there. Stilp and Gore, his 2 stars. Oh, big slide from Paul Sheard as he flicks the car from left to right. Almost the driver's having to do a bit of that to try and get these tyres to work a little bit better. Less standing water than we saw at Snetterton, and therefore they look a little bit more manageable, less aquaplaning. Matthew Davis, difficult to say. I think he's chasing down this little pack here. There's Sheardy without the lights on, and then Adam Gore just behind him with the lights on. Findmeagift.com is Adam Gore's company, and that's the reason why he can come Mazda racing both in the Mark 1s and in the Mark 3s. The Mark 1 championship for him is going quite a lot better, I would have said, than the Mark 3s, although really the Mark 3 championship is the championship to be in. It's the top class, if you like. It's the British touring cars of Mazda racing. Gore turns his way through Mansfield, gets on the power early, gets the back out so that he's not relying on the front end to do all the turning, and that seems to be the technique that most of these drivers have adopted here at Cadwell Park to get their Mazdas running better. And that's the place where motorbikes take off over some of the mountain section. And even some of the single-seaters, the Formula Jedis that race alongside the Mazdas, they take off over there as well in dry conditions. But these road cars, pretty much bog standard road cars, other than slight tweaks to the suspension. Obviously a roll cage and fire extinguisher in there as well. It's a fantastic championship to get started in. Starting the Mark 1s perhaps, but then progress to the Mark 3s. Really great cars to drive. A fantastic friendly atmosphere in the paddock. And we take a look further back down the field. That's Raymond Worley and Melvin Hodgson fighting out over last position and staying well away from the curbs. You want to be running those, gents. And here's another battle royale. Chris Lord being passed down the inside by the 19 machine of David Chapman. And they're having a nice little fight over the outskirts or the bottom end of the top 10 positions, as has been their position for much of the year. But Chris Lord's been very, very consistent, and that's allowed him into top 5. The championship, oh, Matt Davis just running a fraction too late into the braking zone at Mansfield. So easy to do because the car is encouraged down the hill by the hill. And therefore you miss your braking point just slightly and it can have a catastrophic effect. That's how you do it. Paul Sheard running the curb and far more. Of course, they're quite low here. The circuit predominantly used and designed for motorbike racing, and therefore you don't want any serrated curbs ripping bikers' legs off. So they keep them low, and it allows these Mazdas to really run them. Lord and Chapman staying away from those curbs. Of course, if you run them, the circuit becomes straighter and therefore faster. And with these sort of difficult, slippery conditions, actually, they can act like train tracks. You get a wheel in, and it sucks you round. And, oh, what's going on here? We've got a spinner at the hairpin. The yellow flags are out, just peeking behind the hedges, and that looks like, to me, the 88 car of Julian Taylor. Now desperately trying to find some traction on the slippery grass to get back going again. Let's have a quick look. It was the 88 car of Julian Taylor, very closely liveried to Abby Eaton's car. She's back this weekend. We haven't seen too much of her having to miss the last round at Anglesey due to budget constraints, the lady racer. And a little bit of a slide from Gore, who's now trying to find a way past Paul Sheard. Now Sheardy's lost a little bit of pace, hasn't he, over Jordan Stilp, who seems to have gotten away. There is Stilp at the top of the hill, heading towards Hall Bends already. Further back is the battle for what is third position. Now, it looked like that Sheardy had the pace over Adam Gore when he got past him earlier on in the race, but he's dropped back into his clutches and really struggling with the handling, the rear end sliding around. And actually, although that can be quite fast in the Mark 1 car, getting the rear to turn the front end of the car, doesn't seem to be working so well in these Mark 3s. Much more balanced machines, the chassis far more sophisticated. And there is David Chapman now safely ahead of Chris Lord and starting to pull away. As I said, Chris up into the top 5 in the championship just simply from continually staying on the circuit. Of course, there are drop scores in this championship, so if you do have a bad day, oh dear, both of them have gone wide at Mansfield. Oh, there's the usual trick of watching the car in front, seeing where he brakes, and then you brake where he brakes, and Chapman had braked too late, and therefore Chris had to brake even later. Both of them survived another day, only a slow speed dip into the grass. There is our leader, Luke Herbert, from Chichester in Sussex. Had such a tricky weekend, struggling with the car at Anglesey last time out. But obviously took a victory at Snetterton and has been there and thereabouts. Anglesey made it look as though he was slipping too far back from Chrissy Palmer to really fight for the championship, and Palmer was in such dominant form at Anglesey. But, oh, where's Luke going? Oh dear. Again, luckily the runoff area really helping you there, and Luke survives another day. He's got such a big gap that no one's going to get anywhere near him. There is Jordan Stilp just coming into the bottom of shot. But this is the sort of commanding victory that Luke will really, really enjoy. Going to put him back into the contention of the championship. Of course, as we said, drop scores will mean that Chrissy Palmer will probably drop this race. Luke munching the curbs through Hall Bends. Just concentrate now. These races aren't that long. They're only 15 minutes. But when you have such a big advantage, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to keep your concentration. Down towards the start and finishing line, the checkered flag is out, and Luke Herbert takes race 1 victory at Cadwell Park ahead of Jordan Stilp, and that battle for 3rd position comes across the line with Sheard ahead of Adam Gore. We didn't see anything of Abby Eaton, but she got ahead of Chrissy Palmer for 5th and 6th, with Matthew Davis finishing in 7th.
Paul, 3rd place for you. You were struggling to catch Jordan there.
Yeah, it was a sort of boring race, I would imagine, from the spectators' point of view. But I had more pace in the car than I really put to good use. But yeah, I couldn't quite get to Jordan. He's quite a handy lad, and obviously Luke was long gone. But I'm really happy with 3rd, you know, and it's just concentrates being in the top 5 in the championship. I think I'm still 4th. So yeah, keep more in the 2nd race, try and go a bit quicker in the next one.
Jordan, you were catching Luke at the end there. What happened?
Basically, wasn't used to the car at all. Obviously, we changed the bias valve. I didn't have a clue what was going on with the braking system. But yeah, we're just getting the car sorted, but still getting used to it. And then I thought I was catching him, and then I found out he come off down the bottom. I think it's at Mansfield, and he done it again. I thought, oh, I'm going to get him and have him now. But then he pulled away again, and then just was in a comfortable 2nd all the way through the race, really.
Luke, you led from start to finish pretty much. Looked quite boring for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say boring. On the first lap, I thought Adam was going to be quicker than me because of the way he came up behind me. Cheers. But then they got in a battle behind. It's like, let me get a gap. And I felt quite confident. The car felt good, so I just thought I'd get my head down. And the last few laps, when I saw I had a few car lengths lead, I relaxed a little bit. And then coming down the hill into the left-hand hairpin after the gooseneck, I thought I'd brake nice and early and went off the track 2 laps in a row. And I thought, Christ, I'm going to lose this win in a minute. But luckily, the lead was big enough to hold it. But, you know, it's still, you know, I'm not going to relax again. I think I'll just always keep my head down and try and get the fastest lap in that.
Great racing there from Luke, but don't go away. Join us after the break for the 2nd race of the day from the MK3s. Welcome back to Cadwell Park for race 2 from the MK3s.
Thanks very much, Nat. The grid is as the result from race 1. So Luke Herbert ahead of Jordan Stilp, Adam Gore, Paul Sheard in 4th position. Windscreen wipers at the double. The rain has stopped falling for a little bit, and off the cars go again. Good traction from Luke Herbert off the start and finishing line. He makes it work from the pole position and snatches the lead. Paul Sheard goes into 3rd momentarily, but round the outside comes Adam Gore. A really strong move from Gore to put himself into 3rd position. It looks like Abby Eaton is snatching at Paul Sheard's heels as well. So Herbert it is from Stilp, from Gore, then Paul Sheard. Abby Eaton is behind Sheard. We're on board with him at the moment. And then Chrissy Palmer is still only 6th position. Where has that dominance gone? Well, he said that they hadn't quite got the setup sorted for the wet conditions. It was so good, actually, at Snetterton in wet conditions. I don't know what they've done wrong. A slight mistake from someone there. Abby Eaton now ahead of Paul Sheard as they went through Park. Eaton up to 4th position. Such a shame that she can't do the whole season, and she's been missing out some of the rounds due to budget, because she really is a fiery racer. And now trying to find a way past Adam Gore. She's got good grip on this first lap. Couldn't find a way past around the outside. The car looks very, very strong, and she looks on top form. Coming towards the mountain section now. She's on the left of picture. Gore is on the right, but Gore's let her go. She's going to run a little bit deep into the bottom of the hill. She may well do, and that's going to compromise her exit over the brow of the hill towards Hall Bends, but there's just not quite enough space to get past. The cars slide their way over the hill. Gore just struggling to get the traction down. Then it's Sheard, and then Chrissy Palmer, this time at least, is on the back of this group. Gore having a quick look down the inside of Abby Eaton. No chance there. Eaton is on the podium position at the moment, 3rd position. There is Paul Sheard with Chrissy Palmer just behind. Palmer owns that car, but it's run by Paul Sheard. And look at the spray that's continually being kicked up. Difficult from where Paul Sheard is. We go on board with him to see anything at all. Just little shadows with red lights on them. Oh, big slide as they go through that first turn. It's so quick with the camber. It wouldn't be that quick if it was a flat corner, but such is the way the circuit is designed with all these on camber pulling the car through. It's basically where the circuit is got a banking to it to allow the car to be sucked through the turn. That's what I mean by camber, and there's a lot of that around here that helps the car mostly. Sometimes it hinders it. pushes the car wide. Oh, big moment from Luke Herbert going into park. Just about manages to hold the car together. And Abby Eaton's gone very, 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 very wide. And oh, she's hit the wall from third position. What a shame. It was looking so good for Abby, lying in that third spot. We didn't see exactly what happened, but she's gone into the wall. So Gore has adopted her position, third position. Paul Sheard fourth, Chrissy Palmer fifth now. And that's the battle that we're concentrating on. Great to watch the work behind the wheel being done. So much opposite lock from Paul Sheard, and that lack of drive has allowed at least Chrissy Palmer to have a sniff. We'll know exactly who that guy is ahead of him and make sure that he's not too forceful. Chrissy is known for his aggressive driving, but not against a teammate. Certainly do not try and push past against a teammate and your team owner. Through Barn. Luke Herbert's getting away. Jordan looks like he's got the measure. Lap times pretty similar now, but the initial gap was made at the start of the race, and Luke will try and hold on to that. Right, here is Abby Eaton starting to make progress back up the field, past Simon Fleet, the novice driver. Those first few shouldn't be too hard for Abby to get past. And in fact, if she has a quick think about it, her mind will be about taking pole position for race 2. Get in the top 8 positions, then maybe the balls will fall in her way and she'll be able to pick up that pole position. Paul Sheard ahead of Adam Gore for third position. Looks a pretty easy move to me. Ooh, big slide from Sheardy, trying to get the power down. The back end doesn't look particularly stable in that car. Every time he gets the power down, it just wants to step away from him. Again, as he comes out of the gooseneck, the back end just wanting to go away. It means the car turns nicely, but he's not getting good drive out of the turns. Gore behind him looks a much more stable machine through Mansfield. Far more neutral. Here comes Abby. Oh, bullying her way past Raymond on the back of the field there. No need for so much contact, Abby. That was going to be an easy pass anyway through Chris's curve. And now through the gooseneck, she'll set her sights on the next machine. Melvin Hodgson makes that easy for Abby. Oh, that looks far too late on the brakes. It just about, she manages it. But we saw her fired up on the start of race 1. She'll be even more angry. She'll be the colour of her helmet with anger for throwing it off at Park. And let's see how far she can get up. That'll be the target now. Pole position for race 3 of the weekend and potentially a win. Here comes Chrissy Palmer though, alongside Adam Gore. He's on the wrong side of the circuit though, but Adam may well let him go. He does. Going into this fast left-hander at the start of the lap. There is Herbert. There is Jordan Stilp. Then Paul Sheard. Then Chrissy Palmer up to 4th position. So whatever they've done to that car, it is working. Whatever they did to Adam Gore's, it really isn't. Because he's falling even further back. Now Julian Taylor's found the racing line through the Hall bends. Over the curb and more, splashing through the puddles in the dirt there. Julian finished 10th in that first race after the spin. There's only 13 runners for this weekend at Cadwell Park, but it's expected to increase again once we go down south. Castle Coombe is the next round, and then Brands Hatch. A lot of these guys are family guys, family men and women. And when Abby Eaton wasn't racing, as Paul Sheard runs a little bit wide, keep it together, Paul. Oh, he's let Chrissy Palmer go flying past. And there goes Adam Gore. He's back down to 3rd position, frustrating Mansfield. It seems to be the place where everyone's being caught out in this race. And again, really, really tail happy. He needs to do something about either rear tyre pressure or just getting that rear end stuck a little bit better. He's struggling. Yeah, so back to Abby Eaton. The weekend she wasn't racing at Anglesey. She was doing a moonlight run for charity for cancer. So not raising funds for her racing, but raising funds for a charitable cause. And that was a worthwhile thing to do. If you're not racing at Anglesey, go and do something else that's pretty good. But most of these drivers are family men, businessmen, and therefore they can't always commit to full championship. there is Luke Herbert, the leader of the race. As we saw earlier, a nice little battle between the teammates, Melvin Hodgson and Raymond Worley. They're taking their time, being nice and cautious around this Cadwell Park circuit. It's true to say, especially around this part, if you do make a mistake, the barriers are extremely close. And therefore, caution is the best part. Right, Paul Sheard is on a mission now. Having made that mistake at Mansfield, he's got the power down again. The G-forces in the car have moved our onboard camera slightly. And Sheard has already passed Adam Gore. Throws it over the curbs at Hall. Gore gets a bit of a slide on. Big dent in the door as well for Adam Gore on the right-hand side there. And I wonder whether Adam will perhaps try to latch on to Paul Sheard and follow his lead as they chase down Chrissy Palmer ahead of them. Once again, back to the two black cars at the back of the field. They seem to be making some inroads actually on Chris Lord. Is that Chris Lord in the 10 car or is that the 19 car? Difficult to say. I think it's the 10 car, Chris Lord. I think I was right first time. But they certainly found a bit more pace in their Mark 3s in the Bonham Motorsport machines. Once again, Luke Herbert has impressed. This time, no mistakes like throwing it off the circuit on the last lap. Coming towards the mountain section, looking so very strong, and I'm guessing that... oh no, Raymond, what are you doing? Just when he looked like he was making a great pass behind a very, very limping Chris Lord, he throws it off and falls right back to the beginning again. All that progress, Raymond, all that progress. Here comes Luke Herbert, though, round the final turn. He took victory in race 1 by a country mile, and the checkered flag falls for him in race 2 as well. Luke is the man to beat here at Cadwell Park. Stilp second. Chrissy Palmer grabs a podium position in third spot, with Paul Sheard, Adam Gore and Matthew Davis rounding out the top 6. Abby Eaton got to 7th by the end of that race.
Chrissy, 6th to 3rd, not too bad.
Yeah, it was all right. It was better than the first race. We didn't quite have the car right for the first race, unfortunately, but no, much better result, and hopefully do better again in the next race.
It was a really, really hard race. We've been trying everything to get the car set up right. Friday we didn't have any testing, so everyone else got a little up on us. So we've been trying our hardest to get the car sorted for all the races. We're still not quite there. I'm not quite confident because we had to change our braking system because we didn't realise everybody else had a biased valve in. And basically we put our biased valve in, and I've realised you can actually brake and turn into corners at the same time now. So I'm kind of learning a lot of things at once whilst trying to go around the circuit. But it was a brilliant race. Just hope for the next one I can have a win.
Luke, another easy win for you.
Yeah, well, easy. It's easy in the fact that I think we were quicker, but it was still a bit sketchy out there. A couple of times I locked the back wheels and thought, right, that's it, I'm going off now. But the car set up like a dream. I think that's the reason to our success, is it's handling so well. Even though it's wet, it's just perfect.
Did you relax this time or not? Did you keep your head on?
I tried to keep my head on a bit more there. Luckily I didn't go off. I made one mistake, so that was good. But yeah, it was good. And I'd just like to say thank you to my sponsors, SRC Recycling.
Of course. We need you to do the ball choosing thing, the reverse grid thing.
Yeah.
Just stick your hand in there, grab a ball.
5, please.
5, position 5.
8.
8. How do you feel about that?
Well, starting 8th. With the pace I got, let's see if I can get to the front. That'll be a good one, won't it?
Okay, well, thank you. Good luck.
Cheers, thank you.
We shall see how Luke gets on from position 8 in the final race of the weekend, so join us after the break. Welcome back to the final race of the weekend for the Mark 3s. Let's see how Luke Herbert does, starting 8th on the grid.
Well, exactly. This is going to be a tall order if he wants to make it 3 out of 3. Abby Eaton on pole position with David Chapman alongside Matthew Davis, and Adam Gore there in 4th position. He has to be the man to watch. Slightly drier conditions for this 3rd race of the weekend. Let's see how they all get on and how their cars are being set up. Not a particularly fast start from either of the front two. It looks like David Chapman will try and get down the inside to take the lead of the race. We go on board with Luke Herbert, who's right in the thick of it, desperately trying to make up positions. It's Abby Eaton who's taken the lead from Adam Gore in second position. We go back on board with Luke Herbert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars ahead of him. So already 3 positions made up just in the first turn and start alone. Let's see if he does win this race, by the way. He's almost certainly going to take points for the most improved driver, and that's an extra 2 points. Not very, very difficult to do that. Abby, though, leads the race from Adam Gore. Then it's Chrissy Palmer. Then David Chapman's fallen down to 4th position. Oh no, Abby Eaton has run wide from the lead of the race. Park is the problem for her this weekend. She threw it off in race 2. And she's dropped out of the lead in race 3. Just running wide on the grass, you saw. Where's she fallen back to? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, out of the top 6. Gore turns his way through Mansfield in the lead of the race ahead of Chrissy Palmer. David Chapman holding on to 3rd at the moment, but he's going to have Luke Herbert all over him. Chrissy wants a win as well, though. He wants to get past Adam Gore as quickly as possible because he'll know that Luke is coming. Jordan Stilp's got Luke just ahead of him. You can see Chapman just not as strong, not as committed through those turns. And Luke Herbert can't find a way through, though. And that is going to allow Jordan and Paul Sheard behind to make a move. Adam Gore's made a mistake through the Hall bends. That's allowed Chrissy Palmer to lead the race. Here comes Luke Herbert down the inside. A little bit of a squeeze, a little bit of contact as well on the exit of the hairpin. It's very, very intense racing in the mid-pack here. Gore muscled out by Jordan Stilp as well. One mistake and it really, really does affect your whole race. You can see Abby Eaton, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th position, back down to where she finished race 2. And that's the position that gave her pole position in race 3. So Chrissy Palmer leads. Chapman doing good at the moment in that 19 machine, holding on to 2nd position. There is Matthew Davis with Abby Eaton just behind. And Luke Herbert then onto the back straight, looks for a position as Julian Taylor has made another error and spun off the circuit. Easy pass from Luke Herbert down the park straight into the braking zone. They brake exactly the same time, but of course Luke has the inside line and in fact invites Jordan Stilp with him up the inside. So Chapman loses 2 positions, and that's important because Luke would have at least hoped that he could have just made a slight gap. He doesn't want to be looking in his mirrors to find out what Jordan Stilp is up to. Further back, it looked like Gore and Paul Sheard were going side by side. Gore has at the moment got the advantage, goes defensive into Mansfield. Sheard takes the racing line. Surely he's going to get better drive out of turn. But there is Abby Eaton now just behind and ready to pounce into the mountain section. Luke Herbert now chasing down the leader of the race, Chrissy Palmer. We've seen many times these two fighting and duking each other out in wet and in dry conditions. It was never ever Luke Herbert's day at Anglesey, and in fact so far this weekend they haven't really met each other on circuit because Chrissy's been struggling a little bit further down the pack than he would have wanted, and Luke's been so dominant. Now for the first time Luke's having to do some overtaking. He's done some fantastic moves to get him into 2nd spot. He took fastest lap, by the way, in race 1 and race 2. Therefore, the maximum 101 points. Well, not quite the maximum, but 101 points. Pretty good, really. Race win gets you 100. 1 point for fastest lap, 2 points for most improved driver. And from 8th position to 2nd, I would have said that Luke is already the most improved driver. There's David Chapman. Now got Adam Gore looking down the inside to the exit of Charlie's. He might make that stick. The slipstream of Chrissy Palmer. You can feel the car being dragged towards the rear bumper of that white machine, but just not quite close enough to make a move. But he's going to have to do something because Jordan Stilp's really there. Look at this battle further back though. David Chapman's got Adam Gore already past him. Paul Sheard goes up the inside. Abby Eaton's trying to help and pushes Paul Sheard just a little bit. They don't want to get stuck behind Chapman because actually Chapman's been driving extremely well. Now Sheard goes up the inside of the second part of Chris's curve, but it's going to put him on the outside for the gooseneck. No, he's just about managed to find a way past. Now Chapman goes a little bit defensive on Abby Eaton. Eaton can't find a way past, but Chapman outbreaks himself. Easy peasy. Eaton and Davis go past, and Chapman's glory days are over. Adam Gore once again on the defensive from Paul Sheard. And Sheard will want to clear him. Big slide over the mountain section of turns, and it looks like ahead of them, it's Jordan Stilp either going off the circuit or kicking up a hell of a lot of mud. Battle for the lead of the race again. Luke Herbert in the slipstream with Jordan Stilp just behind. It's going to be once again a three-way battle for the lead. Exactly what we saw in race 3 at Anglesey, and it was a mega fight. Absolutely awesome. For sure, Luke Herbert has the pace though. Can he find a way through? Strong he is through the Charlies. He's got more grip through these long right-hand turns. He's in the slipstream now. Chrissy Palmer will surely go defensive. He knows the tricks in the book to stop Luke from going past. He goes to the inside of the circuit. In fact, he's sort of sitting in the middle of the circuit. It's not really wide enough for two Ma5das side by side. No way through for Herbert this time. Tries a switch back, so goes wide, cuts in, looks for the inside, but not quite enough momentum to be able to do that this time through with Chrissy Palmer. Chrissy's still on the defensive, and all this defending is going to allow Jordan Stilp to have a bit of a play as well. So they need to be careful, those two. There's one thing battling with one other car, but when you've got two to deal with, especially for Herbert, who's got one in front and one behind, it really does become extremely tricky. Something has to give. Herbert to the outside, onto the normal racing line because Chrissy Palmer is defending. Therefore, Chrissy will be a little bit slower through this corner. Therefore, a little bit slower through this corner. Therefore, a little bit slower over the brow of the hill. But luckily for him, Luke got a massive slide on and could not take advantage. There's not really an overtaking position going into Hall, but if you get alongside enough, you can just about force your rival to give up the position. But it's not really a place where you want to try fighting Chrissy Palmer, that's for sure. Luke will find a way through. This is playing that old trick in the book where you get loads and loads of mud and kick it up into the face of your opponent to momentarily block his vision and hope that perhaps they might make a mistake. Over the line they go. Palmer ahead of Herbert, ahead of Stilp. Welcome back to Cadwell Park. We are in the closing stages of race 3 for the MK3 Ma5da MX5 Cup. It's Chrissy Palmer ahead of the man that we're on board with, Luke Herbert, going through Charlie's and onto the back straight. Luke Herbert started in 8th position and has already made his way up into 2nd spot. Chrissy Palmer has not had the best weekends and is desperate to try and make amends for 2 disappointing results by taking this race 3 victory, but at the moment it doesn't look like he's going to be able to hold on. We've still got a few laps left of this race. 15 minutes is the total duration. And poor old Chrissy Palmer just doesn't quite have the pace in his Paul Sheard prepared machine this weekend. Luke Herbert's car prepared by his father and him, and then Jordan Stilp with the Rob Boston Racing team. And really, with Adam Gore fading this weekend from a stunning pole position, Jordan is Rob Boston's real hope this weekend. Luke still searching for a way past, looks to the inside, but that's really not a place where you want to be trying to make an overtaking move, because really you'll get done as you go over the brow of the hill. As yet, we haven't really seen any convincing moves from these three. They've sat behind each other, but they haven't actually made a pass. Early race leader Abby Eaton threw it off, and there is another man who was doing so well early on, David Chapman, and he's off somewhere around the circuit in the grass. And as soon as you get on the grass, there's no hope to get back on the circuit, because actually the slicks, the tyres, the Kumo tyres that these guys are using are the track tyre. They're track day cut slick, basically. And talking to the Kumo engineers, they'd say they're not really meant for wet conditions. They're sort of relatively good actually for these sort of conditions, not too much standing water. There's Julian Taylor. He's had an eventful weekend on the grass. 10th in race 1, improvement in race 2. Now here comes Luke Herbert, once again on the outside going into Park Corner. And there really isn't a way past. You can't go all the way around the outside because you know what Chrissy Palmer will do. He'll just edge the car to the outside, and that's exactly what he does. Luke's still trying to go about it. Oh, can he do it? That's incredible. He's gone round the outside at Chrissy's curve. He's finally made it stick. What an amazing move. A very, very confident move from Luke Herbert. I was just not expecting that to happen whatsoever. Chrissy Palmer has lost the lead of the race in one of the most unlikely places to lose the lead. And now Jordan Stilt would have seen that and realised that really maybe they do have so much more grip than Chrissy is able to lean on the car. We've got yellow flags down at the mountain section. Is that because we've got a car off? I suspect it probably is. Maybe that's where David Chapman has deposited his machine. Through the Hall bend, so far Chrissy Palmer staying on Luke Herbert's bumper. Now though, Luke can do the old tricks of chucking up the mud in Chrissy's face. Just a momentary distraction, that's all he needs to make a small error, miss the apex, dip a wheel onto the grass and round you go. As you can see, Luke's car looking so much nicer than when we ran on board with Paul Sheard in race 2. There was so much work going on from Sheard on the wheel. Luke far more chilled. They really have absolutely sorted this machine. He was really struggling with brakes and the suspension setup in the dry at Anglesey. By the end of the weekend they'd made it much, much better, but they spent most of the race weekend actually just trying to get the car working again. Julian Taylor there. Outside the top 10. With one of the Boreham Motorsport cars just ahead. Difficult to say if that was Melbourne or Raymond. Identical machines, those two. And to the lead of the race then, Luke Herbert still ahead of Chrissy Palmer with Jordan Stilt in 3rd position. And really those are the 3. Then it's Gore, then it's Sheard. And Sheard has managed to drop Abby Eaton quite a bit. So whereas we thought Abby had the pace early on, she led the race up to the Park Corner where she ran wide. She's now dropped back. So Luke Herbert, multiple karting champion in his time. One of the real pros when you looked in TKM karting 3 or 4 years ago. He was one of the real men to watch. Despite his rather tall frame, still managed to make a go-kart work extremely well. Chrissy Palmer, not so much a specialist in karting, but when it came to cars and specifically Formula Fords, he was absolutely mega. And Jordan Stilt, another of the young chargers from the karting fold, who decided to make his name in the Ma5da Championship. And those 3 really setting the benchmark. This is a professional racing drivers' championship now. These guys want to go on to do bigger and better things. This is not only a fantastic club series, but it is a stepping stone to greater things. Both Rob Boston and Tom Roach making a good living now in motorsport. Shame that we've lost both of them from this Mark III Championship, although Rob of course still running cars, he's not actually racing. Realised that if he runs a car that he was racing in, then he potentially can make more money than spending it all racing. And I think we all know that story. Further back, Julian Taylor still trying to find a way past the 40 machine of Raymond Worsley. Through the hairpin they go. And I think we saw the last lap board being hung out for our leaders. So, not much of a chance now for Jordan Stilt to find a way past Chrissy Palmer for the 2nd spot. But it looks like it's going to be 3 out of 3 for Luke Herbert. An absolutely stunning performance all weekend in the wet conditions. The car has looked so good. He's really made use of getting used to these tyres and making sure the car is set up to work the tyres properly. Julian Taylor still trying to find a way past Raymond Worsley. As yet hasn't managed to do it. Of course it's a recovery drive because he was off on the grass earlier in the race. but just a few turns left for our front three. Luke Herbert dips the wheel over the curb, flicks it through the last remaining few twists of hall bends into the hairpin. Make sure he doesn't outbrake himself, and that's a big old spin from Raymond. He's almost going to end up back on the circuit on the other part of the track. I wonder if there was contact. Here comes Luke Herbert though, over the start and finishing line. The arm is out the window, and that can only mean one thing. There is the checkered flag. And Luke Herbert is victorious, 3 out of 3, much like his compatriot Chrissy Palmer was in Anglesey. Herbert is the man of Cadwell Park this weekend. 2 points for the most improved driver, 1 point for fastest lap, and 100 points for a win. Ahead of Chrissy Palmer, Jordan Stilp will be disappointed perhaps to get third position. Adam Gore, Paul Sheardon, Abby Eaton rounds out the top 6.
It was a brilliant race. Started I think 7th or 8th. Got a brilliant start. Kind of mucked up a little bit. Got stuck in between a few people. Followed Luke through. Caught up to Chrissy. I thought I might have a few goes at trying to overtake him, but then I thought, nah, sit behind him, let them two battle it out. That didn't kind of go to plan. Been trying this for quite a few meetings now, and I don't think it's working, so I think I need to change that idea. But no, it was a brilliant race. Just need to get the car sorted in the wet, and then I think hopefully we will be on the top of the podium.
Chrissy, you had a great start and you were leading the race, but you struggled to hold Luke behind you.
Yeah, I was doing the best defensive race that I could, to be honest. I knew he was quicker than me, and I knew that I just had to stay there as long as I could, hopefully till the end of the race, but obviously not quite. I think it was only 2 laps from the end, but I did the best I could, and unfortunately we just didn't quite have the pace to extract everything from the track and everything today.
Luke, 3 wins today, pretty much perfect.
Yeah, all weekend the cars felt great. We had a couple of wet test sessions, a couple of dry test sessions. We knew we had the pace in both conditions. Qualifying in the dry, I thought I was pole, but then Adam nicked it, so I was a little bit unsure of how it was going to go. But then, yeah, wet today, and it's just been fantastic. Brilliant day.
And all that dominance has brought Luke closer to Chrissy Palmer for the lead of the championship. Jordan Stilp and Paul Sheard fighting for third.
Well, that truly was a brilliant weekend from the Mark IIIs here at Cadwell Park. Luke Herbert definitely dominated this weekend, but as we know from this championship, anything could happen. So join us next time when we move down south to Castle Combe.